Here on News at Prime, we stay with the ANC's policy conference and shift our focus now to women employment policies. According to Statistics South Africa, a woman is more likely to be without a job than a man. Now, in the third quarter of 2021, the unemployment rate amongst women was 37.3% compared to a total unemployment rate of 32.9%. We're joined now by Sthandiwe Msomi from the South African Youth Economic Council. Sthandiwe, good evening. Good to have you with us this evening here on News at Prime. As far as progress that has been made since the last policy conference of the ANC in terms of gender parity and equality in positions of management in business, but maybe even within the party itself at some point that is debatable. Have they shifted the needle, moved at all?
I think when it comes to the broader conversation about gender and where women find themselves in this economy, the ANC has been very myopic in trying to address the fundamental challenges that this economy faces. The ANC at this point in time, even in their policy conference, doesn't really have a clear ideological stance on the economy, on policy. And that has a trickle-down effect on how women in this economy are affected. As we've seen, fiscal austerity has been the main order of the day at National Treasury. And when those policies are implemented, no one asks themselves, how does the lack of building a bridge or a road due to decreased public funds affect women? That affects young girls who have to now find different ways to go to school, and they're at risk of getting raped or getting mugged and getting becoming victims to the perils of society, right? And so even in trying to address whether or not there is 50% men and 50% women in cabinets or as premiers in different provinces in the country, the conversation should go beyond that and ask ourselves, within economic policy that the ANC is supposed to be debating right now, how do those economic policies affect women who happen to be the most vulnerable in society? Yeah,
the president, speaking earlier on in his address, he says that they've gone quite a long way in as far as the legal framework, legislative framework, to ensure that there is no discrimination, be it by race or be it by gender, and so on and so forth. But saying that maybe something else needs to be discussed here, the structure of the economy itself, whether the structure of this economy suits this agenda that they're trying to pursue here to create a more equal society. So what would they need to change?
I think that's a brilliant sort of point you've raised out, because in our country we have things like affirmative action, we have BEE, and all these forward-thinking policies that are supposed to integrate women into the economy. But if you ask yourself, how many or what percentage of women make up that unemployment rate when it comes to women? It happens to be a lot of black women, and they're the ones who don't get opportunities in this economy. So even if we put in the laws and say women need to be given opportunities, it doesn't matter if it happens to be Indian women or colored women and having black women left at the end of the rope, right? And so we have to ask ourselves if those legislative policies actually make sense within the broader economic conversation. And I think that's where the ANC Women's League also needs to step up and speak about these issues, because for too long we've seen them talk about different slates when it comes to national governance within the ANC and other party politics, but not really talking about how exactly the economic policies that government is implementing is actually affecting women. And we haven't seen as much research by the Women's League done, or advocacy and lobbying for black women in this economy. And I think within the policy conference itself, the Women's League needs to ask itself how they can transcend their role just from advocating for women to be in the top 6 of the ANC or other structures, but actually focusing on ordinary black women in townships and rural areas who have been affected by the very same economic policies and decisions that ANC leaders and officials have made.
Sthandiwe Msomi, I appreciate you coming on and your intervention here with us this evening.